Welcome to the TCS Podcast, where we're dedicated to helping you achieve extraordinary growth and success by supplying you with the tools, resources, and support necessary to not only build profitable businesses, but to create a lasting impact on your families, companies, and communities. I'm Eric Guy. With us today are these two lovely brothers in front of you that have been part of TCS for quite a while now, Nick and Anthony Abbruzzese. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Eric.
it.
Glad to be here, man.
Yeah. And let's just, for those that don't know, what you guys actually do, because you know it's part of a family business. A lot of our TCS members are in business with family members, but what specifically do you do, and how do you do it?
Yeah, so we help operate the family flooring business that is located on Long Island, New York, that we're pretty much working in New York City every single day. So New York City is our home. Dad started the company about 20 years ago. We don't, maybe even a little more. We're kind of fuzzy on the start date, but and we were always involved in it one way or another. School breaks, it's winter break, summer break, whatever it is, riding in the truck with Dad, helping him with deliveries, things like that. And then we both went to college and pretty much knew, even though going through college, we wanted to graduate, we were going to fall back into the family business and help Dad out with that. So I think it's been about 12 years full time for me and maybe 13 for you, Ant. Not
Yeah.
too sure. Um, but we primarily do all things flooring. We specialize in concrete polishing, epoxy, and self-leveling. And like I said, we're in the Big Apple every single day. That's constantly throwing us curveballs, even for us being 12 and 13 years in, every day is just something new. Something new that's throwing us for a curveball. So keeping us sharp though. That's for sure.
Anthony, what's your favorite thing to do? Like as far as flooring, what's your favorite type of project to work on?
Well, I think that as far as any kind of trade is in regard to any kind of trade, you have the satisfaction of seeing something from start to completion. And given our scope of work, we literally can do everything from prep to finish flooring of any kind. And I would say the most satisfying floors in general are the ones that, without naming any floor in particular, it's like the most when you get the most beat up and nasty floor that you start off with, and then you can put some self level over it, and you have a really nice finish on it, whether you're putting wood or tile or something, or even putting epoxy on it. But my favorite kind of floors are, we do a product called True PC, and it's a self leveling overlay that you can polish, and it just looks when it's done, it looks so nice. It's a brand new slab. It makes everything look nice. The aggregate is beautiful, and I really like seeing those floors because they usually start off the most beat up.
I'd started off actually in high school. I did flooring. I don't think I've ever shared that with you
No.
guys.
No,
Yeah, I used to. It was mostly wood floors. But in high school, my friend and I really got good at it working for a guy, and he treated us well, and he let us take off with it. Running the sanders and things like that, installing them. I always liked the start to finish. I always liked like taking an older house, because we have older houses here in Pittsburgh. That was fun to me, like taking the old houses, taking those old floors, making them, just making them shine like that. And I know when I've got my first house, I had the owner of that company come, and that was the last floor I did was in that house of ours 2 houses ago. But still remembered how to do it. But it sure does make a difference in a home or an office or what have you. What's it like working together, especially? Yeah, I don't want to like stereotype you guys, but you're from New York, right? Um, yeah, do you
Thanks.
have I mean, is it like the movies? I mean, do you fight? Do you yell at one another? What's going on?
well,
Uh,
why do you think we have this wall built behind us?
yeah. No, so To be honest, we really don't. The three of us with me, Anthony, and our dad, Tony, we really don't fight. Very rarely, we'll get a little, I guess, tempers will flare a little bit, but for the most part, we have a great working relationship with each other. We hear that all the time. Every time we're on a job site, people realize, hear that we're a family. They're like, I could never work with my dad. I could never work with my brother. So I could definitely understand where they're coming from with that, but we are very fortunate to have a great working relationship. Um, where at the end of the day, it's still, hugs, I love you, and move on. It's not, we don't really hold grudges. We really, I honestly couldn't really name maybe more than a few times where we really were, where tempers got crazy. We just, it works. And I think that stems from growing up.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, growing up, we have another brother, Joe, also. He's the youngest brother. We were just told from a young age, like, you don't fight with your brothers. You don't fight, because if you do, there was repercussions from the old man. But so we learned from a young age that we didn't fight with each other, and I think we just carry that through our professional and adult life now. It's just we really, we have disagreeing viewpoints at times, but it never really escalates to anything crazy at all.
Yeah, I think that just to build on a little bit what you said, it's ultimately it comes down to your I think Brian says it too. It's like argue if you must, but try not to, and that's I think what we strive to do is more or less talking things out. We're not the type of people that want to like there is this stereotypical New York job site where it's just constant yelling and like everybody's blaming each other and everything like that. I feel like me and Nick came in at the tail end of that kind of era of
Yeah.
work, and now it's more taking a turn for, you know, talking things through, having different ideas, and it's a changing world for sure on our job sites as well, and even working together. Like we like Nick said, we don't argue, we talk things out, we make sure that we're getting different, and we don't agree with each other all the time. I think that's very important. We don't agree with each other, but we always try to accept different viewpoints from each other.
Yeah, I mean, we just brought my daughter into the company,
Hmm.
and I think it's been fantastic. I mean, I absolutely love it. But what advice? Again, we have a lot of TCS members who work with family members. I mean, I work with my wife. She actually runs the company. I'm not really the boss, but uh, and I have a brother-in-law who works in the company, and now a daughter. Um, how do you guys like? For lack of a better term, how do you keep it real? Like, how do you say what actually needs to be said? Because sometimes we pull back from family members. We don't say what needs to be said. Those kinds of things. How do you guys like keep it real? Like,
I
what
think,
advice?
yeah, I think um, the best thing is to just say how you feel when maybe, not in the moment when things are at the pinnacle, at the tip of getting out of
Don't,
control.
yeah, don't say it when emotions are high.
Yeah, but you know, not saying things down the road can lead to resentment towards someone. So, it's important to express your feelings and concerns just in a professional, family-like manner. Well, I know what, Anthony's hot points are. He knows what mine are. We both know what dad's are. So we can come at each other when addressing those hot topics with each other in a way that we know is going to de-escalate the situation. And that's just from working with each other for the last 12 years, but also just being family for the last 30 plus years. Um, but I think, saying what's on your mind, taking the emotion out of it will goes a long way and prevents, resentment down the road.
Yeah, because how many times have you seen like a family business just like blow up because they took advantage of, I think, something that everybody takes advantage of when you're working with your family is that it's my brother. I can talk to him like that. He understands. Like, that's not always the case because then eventually you're gonna, why am I taking a beating all the time? Why am I able to, you shouldn't, you got to be able to talk to people professionally and as if like I try and like when we're here, I know we go back and forth. Like if you know somebody's buttons, how to push them, and you doing it on purpose, and you're trying like because you're emotional and you're working with your brother and your dad, that's the fastest way to not have a business. And then like you hear the stories of, oh, I could never work with them. They're this, they're that. Like, no, that's because you messed it up because you each all of you knew how to push each other's buttons and it didn't work. And I constantly hear that from everybody that ended up having like a family business that blew up.
Yeah, I think setting egos aside is a big thing. Um, not trying to be the one that's always right, um, is definitely a big factor. And we learned that, obviously through books and podcasts and things like that. But Dad just is that in nature, where
Hmm.
he'll be the first one to say, that was the wrong call, I messed up, things like that. So it really set the tone early from us to be okay with admitting when you're wrong and just figuring out a solution to move forward, not just trying to die on that, what is it, die on that hill, die on that
Don't
sword.
die on that sword. There's no
Yeah,
reason.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just need to be encouraged because we have so many of our, especially our TCS, but I have a lot of clients just because of my background, and doing therapy and family therapy for so many years. It just moved into having a lot of companies that are family based. And you can do it. I mean, that's the encouragement there is you can do it. It takes work, but it takes work with anybody too. But I think at the end of the day, for me, people have always asked me that, and you know, do is are there have there ever been issues like between like my wife and I working in the company? Absolutely, but you know, she's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I don't have to worry about that. I don't ever have to worry about her not being engaged. Um, it's just I think and maybe I'm wrong with this, but I think it's a benefit to have that there because there's more, I think there's more reliance, more engagement. The things that you would normally maybe have in the back of your mind with a normal employee, typically if you're doing things well and treating each other well, you don't typically worry about, the normal stuff, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we like the reason that me and Nick we know what each other is thinking. Like we like it that because we've spent so much time together, and it's not even the questions of someone being engaged or fully committed to the business or anything like that. It's so far and away out the window. It's just that's the benefit of working, but
Yeah.
you could that's the benefit of being completely bought in with me and my brother. And my dad is, obviously he's the one that started everything. So like you definitely have a benefit of that by working with family. But also it's like we're people too. Like you can have a brother that is involved in your family business and just doesn't really isn't as committed to it as you are. And then that should also be that has to be hashed out. And nothing is perfect. That has to be hashed out
Right.
between you and your brother about like what roles are you're gonna be doing. One guy could be the CEO and one guy could be a field superintendent. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever works for you guys, but you have to just take, like Nick said before, take the ego out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, speak to what you think. All right, because this is always the question that I get now that we have a next generation in our company. What made you guys want to go to work in the family business? Like you weren't forced, were you?
No,
I
not
don't.
at
I
all.
don't think you were forced. But what made you want to do it? Like, because
Uh,
Nick, you mentioned it. Hey, like we were going through school, we knew we wanted to come back and do this. Like, what made you? What was the pull?
so prior to our dad starting the flooring company, he owned a landscaping company. And very similar, we would do the same thing, summer vacations, winter breaks, whatever it was, we would just do ride-alongs in the truck with him. And he would constantly, I mean, even to this day, we'll be driving down the road and he'll just say, what's the name of that tree? What shrub is that? What is that? What is that excavator? What is that? And so it was always fun. He was he always kept it interesting and got us engaged, and we always learned new things. And whether it was a story that he told from, his life or work, or just learning new things. You know, it's funny. I'm going through this now as a father, but he's the type of dad where you're just like, how do you know everything? Um, when you realize he doesn't, he just, he knows a little bit about a lot of things. And so it was always just like a learning experience with him. And once we graduated, we loved spending time with him. And quite frankly, growing up, he was always working. So that was those ride-alongs were like the most time we spent
Mm.
with him. He missed many family parties and holidays and birthdays and things like that. So we just knew that we loved learning and being around him, but also at the same time we wanted to help him and help the family. So we jumped in, and it was a process. We didn't start with the mindset that we have now, but we just our initial feelings were we wanted to be around Dad and we wanted to help out the business.
Yeah, I agree. It's mainly just hanging out with dad.
Yeah.
I think it would have mattered. I think the only thing that would have we would have been involved in pretty much whatever business dad did outside of, I don't know about Nick, but I said I would have been involved in any business that dad started just because I wanted to hang out with dad and work with him outside of if it was scaffolding. Because
Anything heights related.
I'm not doing that in Manhattan where you're up 400 floors and you're hanging on by like a little leather belt off of a building. Like we're not doing that. But anything I said, pretty much anything else outside of that, I'm in with that.
Well, you guys do some pretty cool work and some pretty neat jobs. What's the importance of, craftsmanship when it comes to, doing your work and reputation?
Yeah, that's to us it's everything. It's definitely something that Dad has always instilled in us from day one of just like cleaning the house even. You know, whatever you're going to do, do it with pride and care. Don't just do something half-assed and just to check the box and say it's done. And one of the things that we speak about all the time is to leave the job sites cleaner than what we found it. So even if we didn't make the mess in the beginning, I'm not saying go around and do the laborer's job and sweep and clean the entire job site. But if we see a coffee cup that's in our area that we're working in and we know we didn't do it, just clean it up anyway because it's a representation of us at the end of the day. No one's gonna know if it was or wasn't our coffee cup. They're just gonna see the coffee cup in the area and maybe just assume it was us and we left it there. So why don't we just clean it up? It'll make the job site cleaner anyway. And it before Dad, while he was instilling that in us, we didn't realize, but it was training the detail muscle. And it just going that extra yard and cleaning up somebody else's coffee cup just makes you pay attention to details a little bit more. And you do it time after time after time after time, 10, 11, 12, 13 plus years later, you start to notice things a little bit more than you would have just by doing something as simple as that. Maybe, sweeping the floor one last time, cleaning up the area, throwing out garbage. One thing Dad still does to this day and is instilled in us is, after we get done having break, guys will throw out all their stuff, just do one final clean sweep, make sure there's no napkins left behind or any kind of debris, and just taking that extra second to take pride in what you do, because something as simple as throwing out a coffee cup that wasn't yours will translate into, for us, giving that floor the extra love and attention to give it that extra pop at the end of the project to really make us stand out on the job site.
I agree. I don't think I really want to add anything to that. I think he hit everything.
Okay. All right. Well, next question's for you then, Anthony. All right. In a kind of a competitive market, like what do you do? What are you doing to recruit and retain, that skilled labor?
Yeah, I think it builds off the previous answer that Nick gave is we have a high standard. It's not, listen, we're not perfect. Let's get that out there. Like there's still jobs that get messed up. There's still things that happen. You go back and fix it and you make sure that you're good. Let's get that out of the way. But up front, we do have a very high standard. We work hard. We make sure that everybody is held to a particular level. And then through there, we're able to attract people that now, especially getting ourselves out there more in the market, we're able to attract a better quality team member. And also, like, people, even when we have guys on our team, we always ask, hey, do you have any friends? Do you have anything like that? We've because we've gotten some frustrations when it comes to that, because they sometimes don't recommend anybody, and we're like, well, what happened? What do you like? How come? And nobody wants to work with us? And they're like, no, they're not ready for this. They're not. We don't have anybody that's ready for this company, and that's a good thing, you know. So when we interview people, when we try to find somebody for a new position, we're always asking questions that that we've learned from being in TCS, like how to get people that align with our culture and make sure that they're able to keep up the standard that dad has laid out before us.
Talk about that. Talk about, we're always talking about culture here at TCS. How do you train and develop that? What are the things that you all are doing to really train and reinforce that?
I think coming up with the core values of your company, you need to live them before you put them on paper. And our core values and our culture is something that me, Nick, and Dad, like, we don't have to fake it. That's the biggest thing. We don't have to fake it. We don't have to pretend that we're something that we're not, because we have to follow the words on the wall. Like, that's who we are. And then by finding people that once you're living that, you're able to easily transpose that down from the top down, because that's where it's coming from. It's coming from the top. So if it comes from the top down, and the people at the top are living it, it's going to be so much easier to disseminate down into the rest of the culture, and then everybody, shuffles in line pretty much. And if they're not part of the culture, which we've had people in the past that are not part of the culture, then they just honestly, at this point, they get weeded out on their own.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And, we try and keep it light and have a good time. It's not like running a slave ship over here.
Oh, absolutely not.
We
No.
constantly, joke around with the guys. At the end of the day, we're making a transition where we're getting pulled out of the field more so in the last couple of years. But we've been in the trenches with the guys for a long time, and we've been through the worst and the best with them as far as, like, the hardest jobs and the easiest jobs. And they know at the end of the day that if we ask them to do something, they know that we either A, have done that already one way or another with them, or B, would be willing to do it. Even when they see us going around at the office and at the warehouse and picking up garbage and things like that, where when we tell them to pick up garbage because of X, Y, and Z reasons, they see us doing it. They know we're, like Anthony said, living the core values. It's just who we are. But definitely keeping it light, at times where there's going to be demanding situations where the jokes, we can't have the jokes, things are hitting the fan. But then once everything settles down, the way home, we're cracking jokes with each other and just keeping it light. And we don't really hold grudges or anything like that. I think that when the guys see us doing whatever is needed, and being willing to joke around with them, it makes them reciprocate with each other, and it really it really has been great for us.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned, I think it was you, Anthony, about getting out there more to get good talent. What did you mean by that? I think I know what you meant, but what did you mean by that? Getting out there more and putting yourself out there more. I think you said something to that nature.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to essentially marketing, putting your face, being more forward facing in your marketplace, in your industry. That's what we've tried to do a lot in the last, I don't even know, Nick, how long, like years now at this point. And it just starts by posting more and on social, and then putting yourself in front of the camera, and then just keep trying to be top of mind as much as possible in your marketplace. I think that's really what I meant by that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reason that I mention it is because, especially when new members come in, I think they're really hesitant to do that because I think some of them just say, "Hey, I don't want to do that. I don't know how to do it. Nobody wants to watch it." And I don't think any of that's true. Like, what advice would you give those folks, especially if they're starting out? Like, even when it comes to talent, like if people are seeing your stuff out there, it's easier to get people in, right?
Yeah. Are you talking about like posting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
posting. So any kind of social media. I know, I watch some of the things that you guys put out, and like I wouldn't know. Like I wouldn't just pick up the phone. I'd be like, yeah, I need a floor. Like I wouldn't know unless it was in front of me. Maybe I want to do that. I don't know if there's a job opening unless you're actively out there. I mean, how many of your competitors have job openings and they're not posting or doing anything like that?
Yeah, I think just not overthinking the posts too much,
Yeah.
because we've tried to do that before where we're like, this one's really gonna do well, and it like ends up flopping, and then you put out something that you don't really give too much thought about. It ends up getting like a couple million views, like some of our videos have. Um, so just not, don't overthink things. Just kind of show your process along the way, your journey along the way. Um, and for us, what we try and capture in our posts is like is the guys working hard, everybody having fun together. You'll see smiles in our posts because that's just really what it is, and just try and give a well-rounded view of what it's actually like to work and be with Abruzzi Floors or whoever's company a day in the life. Not some just perfect highlight reel of fake generated pictures and things like that. Like really show um, what it would be like.
Now, does your staff, do they appreciate those things now? I mean, are they getting involved in it?
Yeah, I think so. I think at first, when we first hired our videographer, the guys were like, what is this? Who is this? What are we doing? What?" And it definitely got a couple of funny looks, but now they're so used to it. Now when they see him, they're giving him hugs and high fives and everything like that. But they do appreciate it because they're able to now get these professional photos and show their family members, look at
Yeah.
this, look what I did on this job site. I was a part of this job. Look at the view I had on this job site. We get some amazing views in New York City, that just overlook the entire city. Um, and sometimes the phone camera doesn't capture it the best, but when our videographer Nate is there, um, they're able to then take those photos and show their family like this is what I'm doing every day when I'm missing, events with the families and things like that. So I think they are proud and happy to have, these types of uploads and things like that put out there.
Kind of a funny question here. Like, what's you guys ride together a lot of days? You ride into the Big Apple?
Not so
Yeah.
much anymore, but a
But
lot in the
when you
past.
did,
Yeah.
I want to know like what are your favorite things to talk about? Like what were the hot topics as you drove in?
I think this is
Um,
a big thing that we always wish we had a microphone in there
yeah, yeah,
because we talked about, I think 99.999% of the time was how do we grow the company?
yeah. How do we fix things? How do we get better? Um, you know, Obviously game planning for job sites that we're going into, um, future job sites, things like that. Um, and then just like, I don't know, we'd probably just crack a joke. We both love cars. So Top Gear, if anyone's familiar with that, is one of our favorite shows. And, just referencing silly things like that. Most of it was focused on work. We were, locked into what was ahead of us and how we could improve the business. Really things like that. I don't know. We've had so many, honestly. It's like I'm sure I'm missing so many good things that we've talked about in the past, but those are like the main ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Anthony,
it's
what's the funniest thing you remember?
oh, mostly from me. I usually make the best jokes. Uh,
Okay.
so no, like I think the things that we end up laughing a lot about is when, something just randomly happens. Like, what did Dad say yesterday? We were on the phone with him, and then we were talking about something very serious, and it was all of a sudden he was like, "Ah." all right, all right. I just blew out my ear because I thought I was on speakerphone, and then I put the phone to my ear and it blew my eardrum out. And we were just completely set the whole we were both all laughing. And it's just stuff like that, like regular conversation. Like it's funny stuff that just happens throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, and riding along with that is funny. He'll just crack jokes out the window. He'll people watch all day long, and I mean, he'll also, and he knows this, so I feel comfortable saying this. He'll
Yeah.
take like two naps on the way in, a nap from job site to job site in the truck, and then a nap or two on the way home as well. So we're always, ragging on him for that, taking funny pictures, and one second you're talking to him, the next second he's got his mouth open snoring. So we just rag on each other.
Before I forget, how do people? I know you're going to be on here again, but for the folks that aren't like regular listeners and viewers of the TCS podcast, how do people get in touch with you and find you, especially like on social media?
Yeah, so all of our social media tags are pretty much the same. It's Abbruzzese Floors, and it's a little lengthy to spell, but it's Abbruzzese Floors with an S. You can find me and Anthony on LinkedIn. With that's where we like to hang out the most. It's nice to be on Instagram and TikTok and all that, but LinkedIn is really where we engage with our fellow tradesmen and end users, architects, things like that. So you can find us anywhere with those hashtags, those usernames.
Yeah, as soon as you find a Bruzy Floors, you'll see both of us reposting stuff on there.
Yeah, it's good stuff too. I enjoy, you talking about the, some of the pictures from, up in a tall building. I think a few weeks ago you posted one. I'm like, oh, that's a nice picture. I'm glad I'm not there, but that's a nice picture.
Yeah.
So last thing, guys, and again, you'll be joining us on here again. But what's like one piece of advice that you would both give other contractors looking to scale?
I would say get involved with communities like TCS. I mean, having this community to just bounce ideas off of. I mean, everyone is constantly in the One Team app. What is everyone doing for this type of situation? What do you do for this situation? Getting around like-minded individuals like that are actually in the trenches like you are has been huge for us, as well as, listening to podcasts, listening to books, reading books, things like that. Just trying to improve a little bit each day. Those have been our biggest takeaways.
Yeah, I agree. And just being an eternal student, don't think that you know everything, because once you think you know everything, all of a sudden life is going to humble you very quickly. So if you could combine being around the right people, being a student, always looking to learn and improve, I think that you're going to be on a good path.
Yeah, and you've just summarized, our biggest and best companies inside of TCS when they do those things, right? Especially the learning piece. I mean, some of you that at the last retreat, you've got people that have been in for years and years and years and keep coming back, and they're still experiencing that growth and better balance in life and all those kinds of things. So that's a very good point. So appreciate you guys. I know we'll have you back on. Everybody likes you guys. So do I. But thanks for all the advice today. And, that's a wrap for today, folks. That's a wrap for the TCS podcast. Stay focused, stay driven, and keep building the business and life you deserve. Until next time, we'll see you later.